I'm going to tell you a secret right now. We don't measure anything.
The only time you pull numbers is for the investor update.
I mean, we have the ability to measure anything. I just mean we don't do analytics in a way where we say, how successful was this blog post? What about this one? How successful was this social campaign? What about that one? How successful was this source of influence? What about that? We don't do it.
So I want to talk about SparkToro and growth for SparkToro. So you shared that public investor update on Twitter. And one of the key things that stood out was you're not seeing any search traffic. And in a world of, marketing channels are super saturated and all of that. But what are the marketing opportunities you see for SparkToro now? Because it feels like there's so much noise out there, and it's great to see it's not search for you. That seems to be a channel that's very saturated. So how are you thinking about growth?
Yeah, for us, it is brand, sources of influence for our audience, content, and social. Basically, those four in that order. When I talk about brand, what I mean is basically that we are trying to, through every channel, through all our messaging, through our website, through kind of the freemium model that we've got, right, where you sign up for a free account. All of that is around building an association between I need to research an online audience or understand my competitors' audiences or understand this area of market research, and it's a freaking pain in the ass to crawl through, 1,000 LinkedIn accounts and 1,500 Twitter profiles manually and try and extract all the data out from them. SparkToro can help me do that. Like I can do that in a few seconds with a SparkToro search. So we're trying to build up that brand association through all of our messaging and our positioning and content and everything else. And then sources of influence is basically, let's go find the podcasts that marketers listen to. Let's go find the YouTube channels they subscribe to. Let's find the publications they read. Let's find the individual people on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram that they pay attention to. Let's find the conferences and events that they attend, all of those sorts of things, the email list they subscribe to, and be present in those places, right? We want this person's email newsletter, which is about marketing, to write about something that we do, to mention us, to associate us with the audience research problem that we solve. That's our sort of sources of influence marketing. And David, a lot of people might say influencer marketing, but I find that tends to mean like dude with 6-pack abs on a beach who like poses with your product and you pay him $500. And we don't do any of that.
Yeah,
so
it might work.
I don't know. Maybe we should dip our toe in that water and see if I can find some hunky beach guys to, hold the SparkToro logo. However, and then the third one is content. So we do a lot with our blog, our own webinar series, the office hours thing I mentioned, the upcoming podcast, Chill Work, content that we create of all kinds, including social posts. And then that last one is our biggest probably distribution and amplification channel, which is basically mostly Twitter and LinkedIn, some YouTube, some Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Quora, Medium, a little bit, like, kind of a longer tail of social networks, but primarily Twitter and LinkedIn, which is where most of our audience is concentrated.
Yeah, it's been so interesting seeing this transition in the marketing world, where there was a period where I think it was very much performance focused. Like, here's a funnel, here are the paid ads, here are the campaigns, here's the conversion rates. And there's a period of like purely SEO. And then, as that channel saturated, all the content looks the same. And it seems like this next wave is just going back to basic with brand positioning. What's your unique angle in the market? And it seems like the way you're thinking about it is, how do we just go where the fish are instead of trying to kind of outbound everything? Is just go where they are and make sure they hear from us.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit of this is kind of dog fooding for right? Because our product is all about, okay, go research an audience and find out where they pay attention online. And so we do that for the audience we want to reach. And then we go find, whatever, Seer Interactive has this great email newsletter. It goes out to like 25,000 folks. All right, how do we get on that newsletter, right? And hopefully a few times. Like, we don't want to be on there just once. Like, we'd like to be regularly included. Okay, well, they run a conference too. Maybe we could pitch to be part of their event. And like, oh, okay, well, we could do like a joint webinar with, one folks from their team and us. It's really the tactic is not what matters. The process is finding a tactic that works for each individual source that reaches your audience, and then pursuing those. And that is super not scalable, which means there's not a lot of competition because people don't like to do that work. You can't just go pay some platform thousands or millions of dollars to be in those channels, right? Those creators and publishers and sources of influence, they will not take your money and include you in their editorial endorsements. You have to do it one by one, relationship building, content and context building, value creation, creativity, serendipity. Let me tell you, friend, ain't no Fortune 500s investing in that ish. Like It's not going to happen, right? And so there's room for us.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things that I'm sort of hearing right now is a lot of the things you can't measure do matter. So going against this whole mantra of measure what matters, like actually a lot of this stuff you can't really measure. How do you measure the value of a relationship and building and just nurturing that? And
I'm going to tell you a secret right now. We don't measure anything.
The only time you pull numbers is for the investor update.
I mean, we have the ability to measure anything. I just mean we don't do analytics in a way where we say, how successful was this blog post? What about this one? How successful was this social campaign? What about that one? How successful was this source of influence? What about that? We don't do it. Like we have no dashboards. Moz had like a ton of dashboards around every type of marketing and every part of the funnel's activity. And we measured it relentlessly and we tried to optimize and find, where were we missing people? Where were people falling out of that funnel? We don't do it. and it's very interesting to kind of look at SparkToro's relative success and say, I think a lot of that comes from not wasting time and energy optimizing the last 2 or 3% that we could eke out of a channel or a tactic, and more imagining and thinking big about serendipitous, hard to measure investments and making those. We even do things that have technically hurt our metrics. Amanda and Casey were chatting the other day over email about how we had an email onboarding campaign. So, when you sign up for a product, it gives you a little product walkthrough, and then it sends you an email sequence, right? Like a drip campaign of what to do next. And have you tried this? And have you built your first list and blah, 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 blah. And we replaced our old one with a new one in October, November. The new one, in my opinion, much better, much more comprehensive, really explains the product better, all those kinds of things. More people drop out of it. Fewer people complete it, right? The metrics for it look worse if you're just looking at that funnel. It's when you look at, well, how's the business doing? Are we getting more people signing up? Are they staying longer? Are we getting more people on the annual subscription? Are people coming back and trying again and signing back up after they used it the first time? And the answer to those questions is yes.
Wow.
So, man, I mean, if we were at Moz, we absolutely would have killed that new onboarding system
immediately. Yeah.
And gone back to the old one.
Yeah.
Would it have been better? I don't know. So it was funny because, Amanda emailed Casey and she was like, how's the new one doing? And he's like, well, here's the stats that I've got and can pull, which is not great. But he's like, but I don't care. This is a better onboarding. This serves the business better because it really shows a customer what they can do with the product. That's actually what we care about, not the statistical probability that you make it through and complete the thing.
Yeah. The irony here is reading your investor update, you had a caveat is we do not expect to have this kind of growth continue. We expect more modest growth. So despite not measuring things, you had a really good year, it sounds like.
Yeah. I've been telling folks SparkToro grew faster in its we haven't been live two months. In 2 months we'll have been live for 2 years. So we've been around 22 months as a product you can purchase. And in those 22 months, SparkToro is growing a good bit faster than Moz grew in its first 2 years as a software company.